mountains. So I'm hoping for that.
Yosemite, sometimes you get snow there and they close down the roads. So it's problematic at times, but good luck with it. Hope that it works out for you.
Well, hey, I mean, you know, I'm going to be with my snow pants and my snow boots. I'm going to be all bundled up. So, I mean, I'm looking for, I mean, I would love to have snow up there. That would be great. And of course, I'm going to be dragging my filters along. So it takes some long exposures. It's going to be great.
You have to have snow chains. You have to get snow chains for the car. And a lot of rental cars are not really happy with you putting chains on them.
I'm going to be going with a friend who lives out there. So she's got,
You're good.
She's got a good vehicle for it. So I don't have to rent anything. So I'm pretty happy about that. But yeah, you're right about the chains. I mean, you wouldn't want to be driving on those mountain passes in snow without them, right?
Okay, we are live now. Okay.
Okay.
You have 10 more minutes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds good. Okay. I'll just share my screen when you're ready.
Yep. No, let's wait for 10 more minutes.
Okay, great. Look at that coupon code, 15% off. I mean, how can you go bad with that, guys? I mean, my goodness. I don't think I've ever had a coupon code named after me. This is like the big time, Kawhi.
Mm-hmm.
Yay! Kawhi's like, oh my God, I can't take her anywhere.
Huh?
You're like, oh my God, I can't take this girl anywhere.
Yeah.
So for the questions, Kawhi, I guess they'll just chat them and then you'll read them to me at the end, or how do you want to do that?
Yeah. For those in Facebook and YouTube, they can put in the chat room or in the comment, and then I will read it for you. For those who are in Zoom, they can just raise their hand or just unmute the mic and ask.
Okay. And also,
I will talk about it before we start. I think people are still coming in.
Okay. I'm going to close my laptop screen so you won't be able to see me. You'll just see my keyboard while I'm talking because I'm going to be talking from, I have my laptop connected to a large monitor. So you'll see my keyboard. That's about it. Okay.
No. We want to see your face.
Oh, come on. Nobody wants. You can see my cluttered bookshelf behind me. I need to get one of those screens like Mark. You know, I'm sorry, I've never been to Palouse, but you know.
If we don't see your face, you're not going to get paid.
Oh man, I am not doing this now, Kawhi. I am not. I'm done.
Good evening.
Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Hi. Hi, Jim. Look at Jim's background. What is that? That's like a big, did you take that picture? That's amazing.
Yes, but that's also taken in the Palouse.
Oh, look at us, the Palouse twins. I love that.
You get out of the way here. See it.
Oh my God, that's amazing. I love that.
You better don't sit over there. It's coming.
Wow, that's really incredible. That's really amazing. I'm gonna have to go there now.
I did get a little bit damp on that one.
I'm sorry?
I did get a little bit damp on that one.
Wow.
Spray material.
Oh, you did? You
Oh, yeah.
it looks like you were standing right in front of me.
That's a crop duster?
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Okay.
But you have to be dedicated, you know. What's a little bit of chemical on your head?
Yeah.
The results.
Yeah, I was actually 23, but now I look like I'm over 80. Salute. Hey, Mark, where are you from?
I'm in New Jersey.
Okay, other coast. I'm up in Oregon.
That's where I'd love to be as soon as I get my vaccine.
Yeah, well, once the crazies get under control, I live close to Portland, and these people have been absolutely insane.
They're really doing a job on it, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, we haven't been in Portland in a year. We
Yeah,
just don't feel it. Just we don't feel safe.
No, you don't want to make a mistake. We're not young enough for that.
No, I'm on my 9th live. I don't dare wear that one out.
I got my vaccine yesterday, actually, first dose.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
Great.
Well, we're hoping to get ours this year.
Yeah, right.
Before they run out.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Oh, looks like Tyler is in the Caribbean there.
No, this is my virtual background.
Oh yeah, I know. I'm just making a joke. I mean, most of us, because of COVID, are stuck in our houses, or locally. But it looks like you're in the Caribbean, though.
Yeah. Actually, I'm in Florida.
You're in Florida.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Whereabouts?
Huh?
Where in Florida?
Orlando.
Okay, I was launched in Pensacola.
Uh-huh.
I was in Jacksonville last week. It was 30 degrees down there. Between 30 and 40 degrees last week. Last week.
Yeah, it's a little chilly here, but I'm just here for the winter.
It's 43 degrees right now in Oregon.
Okay, we have 5 more minutes. So who want to show up and say hi before we start?
66 degree here.
Oh wow! Now I can really see that picture. That is gorgeous, Jen. Really lovely. I would love to have a shot like that. Very nice. Kawhi, you wanted to say something?
Nah, we have 4 more minutes. I think people are still coming in. We have 66 now. Yeah. There are more than 300 people sign up. So
That's awesome.
Yeah, so we are expecting a full house in Zoom, and then some people go to Facebook and YouTube.
Great.
Yeah.
Facebook, that's the evil empire.
Nah.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully it'll be a lot nicer place now. People will be calmed down. I'm not getting into politics right now. This is filters, but hopefully people will be all nice now. Right? Please.
Politics and religion are no-win arguments or discussions.
I mean, you wouldn't talk about that in front of people. It's just crazy. I stay out of it. I'm neutral. I'm like Switzerland. I try to stay out of it.
So who else want to say hi? I saw David. David.
Hello, hi.
Hello.
I'm here.
Where are you?
Staying home. All right.
Hello, I'm here. Peter.
Hello from cold Michigan.
Hi, Peter. Peter, where are you?
I'm in New York City.
Huh?
I'm in New York City. We remodeled it.
The background the background picture in New York City. Which part of New York City is that?
That would be a village in the mountains of Montenegro, that part of New York City.
Oh wow.
You know what? This isn't fair. You guys get to travel to all the amazing places. Really. That's a beautiful shot too. That's lovely. Now we can all pretend like we're all in these wonderful places right now.
Yeah.
Oh,
changed it
there
to
you
New York
go.
City. That's New York City, or that's New Jersey from New York City.
Oh, wow. Okay.
New York City's not bad.
No. Yeah, it's okay. 78.
I'm just an hour outside of New York City, but I just don't go in there. Not happy with the virus stuff. Yeah, normally I love getting in there and doing whatever I could do.
And not much virus there though these days. I mean, it's worse other places.
Depending on where you are, it's one of the lowest. In fact, like where I'm in the West Village, and this is one of the lowest infection rates in the country. But if you go to other parts of the city, it's not the high end of the country, but it's, 10, 15% or something. Here, it's like under 1% or something. Just depends.
How is it around Battery Park City?
That would be okay. So Manhattan generally is better. I mean, what's going on is you have different groups that live in multi-generational housing or for cultural reasons or having big gatherings. And that, or if they're where college age people are going and having raves. And those are creating push. I mean, it's going up everywhere. It's going up everywhere in the country. So even in Manhattan and everything, but much of Manhattan and lower Manhattan is kind of low.
Interesting.
That's a good thing.
Hey, it's Jay is on. Hey, what's going on?
Not much, Jen.
All right, we'll have our photo pills follow up again.
Yeah, I have
Don't
like,
worry, I'm not gonna abandon you. We're starting the seminar now, but don't worry, we'll talk later.
and I have two questions. Well, actually one, but if
Okay.
not today, tomorrow's another day, so to speak.
All right, we'll talk about it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. It's 8 o'clock now. Hey, goodbye. It looks like we have 100.
Okay, so we are full house. Okay, let's start. So welcome you all to the to our, I think it's our 4th or 5th seminar organized by NiSi Filters USA. So today we are honored to have Jennifer Khordi with us. Okay, so Jennifer Khordi is a cityscape and landscape photographer based in New Jersey. So she's best known for her moon, Milky Way, and lightning photography here in the East Coast. So she is currently leading long exposure workshop, Milky Way moon workshop in New York, New Jersey, and she's sponsored by Nikon, NiSi, Photo Pros, and many other brands. So today, Jennifer's going to talk about the seascape photography. So mostly about how to use the filters to get a better seascape. So without further delay, welcome Jennifer. Oh, by the way, a little bit of housekeeping. So for those of you who are in a Zoom, if you have questions, you can. We have a Q&A session right after the Jennifer talk. And for those of you who are in the YouTube live and the Facebook live, if you have questions, you can put it in your in the chat room or in the comment in the comment, and I will collect the question and I will leave it leave it until the Q&A session. So everything clear? So with that, welcome Jennifer.
Thank you. I just share my screen.
Yep.
Perfect.
Okay, Jennifer, can you unmute yourself?
Perfect. Is this good? I'm going to leave it in this.
No,
format.
Jennifer, I think you have to share your PowerPoint, not the screen, okay? It's because we are now seeing your. Do we see your PowerPoint?
Can we see the PowerPoint?
Oh yeah, good. It's my mistake. Sorry. So can you put on full screen?
Yeah, actually, I like this better because then I can switch back and forth. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, because I'm probably going to be navigating back and forth to talk about different things. So I'd rather just leave it like this if that's okay.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so Kawhi, thank you very much for the introduction. I'm going to lower my keyboard so I can see my screen. I've been, I'm pretty much, I do long exposures, moon, Milky Way. I do a lot of cityscape. I do a lot of landscape. I do travel photography, and I also love shooting at the beach. Because I live in New Jersey, the beaches is like a half hour from me, so I love going there. And about 3 years ago, NiSi approached me, and I became NiSi ambassador. And they gave me the full set. I have to say, using NiSi filters completely transformed my photography. I was using another system before, and it was leaving me with tons of color casts. And I have to say that, I mean, using these now, it's just been fantastic. The biggest thing I noticed when I'm using my NiSi filters is I don't get any color casts. When I use them, it's like I'm not using any filters at all. So I have to say that's like one of the, that's one of the things that I've noticed when I'm using them. Also, a little background on me, I'm part of the Global Elite Photographer team with Kawhi. We also are sponsored by PhotoPro. And I'm also sponsored by a couple of other brands that Kawhi spoke to you about. Okay. Okay, so, oops, sorry about that. Okay, so I am, what kind of gear do I use? So I shoot most all Nikon. I was Canon, and then I moved up to Nikon a couple of years ago. I use only NiSi filters in my bag, and I only use PhotoPro tripods. So what kind of cameras do I use? I pretty much use the D850, the D810A, and the Nikon Z7. The only tripod I use now is the Global Elite Photographer Tripod 84C. I also use a 74C. For almost all of my landscapes, I use the Nikon 14-24 2.8 lens. And I also use the Nikon 24-120 f4 lens. The Nikon 14-24 lens is a large lens. It has a large element. So I use the NiSi S5 filter system that fits in front of my lens. And I use that for almost all of my landscapes. Also the 24-120 f4 lens that has a 77 millimeter thread, and I use a smaller system for that. Okay. So the big question is, why do we use ND filters in seascape photography? Why not just shoot without filters? That's what I get asked a lot. Why don't we just shoot without filters, stop down, take quick shots and stack them? There's a lot of reasons why someone would want to use ND filters in seascape photography. Okay, so we use ND filters in order to smooth out water, create unique wave trails, and enhance reflections. Now, the NiSi system is probably the only system has a built-in circular polarizer in it, so that, for example, say if I'm trying to shoot something and I'm trying to reduce a reflection and see to the bottom of the beach. Say if I want to shoot something rocky and I want to see to the bottom, I'll put on my circular polarizer. Also, let's talk about unique wave trails. If you go to the beach, you can actually create a whole bunch of different images based on the trails of water. And when I take people sometimes on one-on-one workshops, I take them to the beach and I show them how I can use the ND filters to actually slow down the exposure. Meaning that if you slow down your exposure, you can actually create unique movement in water and it can have a unique composition every single time. And that's probably one of the biggest reasons that I love to use the ND filters, is that you can see the movement and the trails in the water, and that creates kind of a beautiful image. Also, what's lovely is that the ND filters allow you to darken the sky so that you have added color and contrast. And also, there's filters that you could use that actually just darken the middle so that you can control your sun. I don't know if you guys have ever gone to the beach without a filter on and tried to control a sun or shoot straight into the sun. It's actually very hard. And the cool thing is that I actually went with a couple people to shoot the Statue of Liberty, and we were taking some zoom images of the Statue of Liberty, and we were using filters in order to shoot straight into the sun. So it's actually kind of hard to shoot straight into the sun unless you're using a filter. So it's really important. Okay. So what types of ND filters do I frequently use? What type of filters do I have in my bag? So this is kind of a list of the filters that I use frequently in my bag. The biggest one I use is the NiSi 10 stop, which I use to take long exposures, and that's for smoothing out water. I've got a reverse 3-stop grad that I use to darken the sun right at the horizon. So if I'm photographing a sunrise or sunset, I'm shooting straight into the sun. So that reverse 3-stop grad allows me to just darken the horizon so that my sun is properly exposed. The NiSi 6-stop is perfect for using for wave trails, meaning that if I'm shooting a sunrise and I want to slow down my exposure to just a couple of seconds, I put my 6-stop on and I'm able to actually create movement in the water. Another one that I use frequently is the NiSi 3-stop soft grad, and I also use the 5-stop soft grad. And sometimes I've actually stacked them together. And I frequently use the 3-stop soft grad when I'm actually stacking images. So I do a lot of stacking at the beach where I actually pick up patterns in the sand, and I stack the pattern in the sand, and I use the 3-stop grad to darken the sky. So I'm going to show you a bunch of examples during this presentation of how I use each one. But first of all, how do I calculate the exposure time when I'm using filters? So NiSi actually gives you this chart, which shows the calculation of exposure time. And if you guys need this chart, I think you could find it on the NiSi website. And also, you guys can contact me and I can actually send you this chart. Basically, how you do it is that you look at your normal exposure time, and this actually tells you what your exposure time would be using this filter. So say, for example, if you take a test shot and you're metering and it's about 1/30th of a second. And to be honest with you, I was just out the other day shooting at the beach around here. 1/30th of a second is I mean, for me, 1/30th of a second at f8 would probably be a good exposure time without a filter, okay? But this is telling you right now that if your exposure time is 1/30th of a second, you slap that 10-stop ND on there and you're at 32 seconds. So this is actually a really good way for you to estimate what your exposure time should be with the filter. Now, if you look here, I mean, your exposure times are getting pretty long if your normal exposure is 1 second. So this is pretty much telling you right away that if you're in a light situation where your normal exposure is 1 second, using a 10-stop ND might be a little bit too heavy for that. Basically, when I'm dealing with when you're dealing with a low light situation, for example, if you're shooting, say, 45 minutes before sunrise, for example, or if you're shooting after sunset and your normal exposure is 1 second, you might want to think about using a lighter ND. Now, what am I talking about, the lighter ND? Maybe I want to slap sorry, my cat is meowing. You might want to slap on a 3-stop or maybe 5-stop grad ND, or maybe even a 6-stop. But I usually say, if it's before sunrise and the light's pretty low, that ND is probably just a little bit too much. I would use a lighter one, like a 6-stop or 3-stop. Okay. So again, if you want to, take a picture of this with your phone, but this is actually a very good chart to calculate exposure. Okay. So if you have a 10-stop ND 1000, you would basically take your base shutter speed and times 1,000. Like for example, if it's 1/30th of a second times 1,000, then your shutter speed would be 30 seconds. Okay. So that's pretty much the easiest way to explain how to calculate exposure if you're using something like a 10-stop. But like I said, the 10-stop ND is actually, if you're shooting seascapes, I think the 10-stop the ND is a really good filter to use. Okay. Okay, so I'm shooting now. Let me get to the next slide. My computer is, I think it's auto saving. Okay. So this is just an example of me using my ND filter on my wide lens. This is my Nikon D850, and I've got a 14-24 lens, and I've got a NiSi filter right there. Okay. So how do you set up your camera to use a heavy filter like in a 10-stop ND? You really have to do a lot of the work before you even put the filter on, because it's kind of hard to see through it. So it's kind of recommended that before you use a 10-stop ND that's kind of heavy, you should compose your, sorry about the spelling mistake. You should compose your shot first, set up your camera and aperture and ISO, and then focus. You should get a good focus before putting the filter on. So then I would definitely focus it, lock the focus, and then put your filter on. Okay. All right, so I'm going to run through a couple of images showing you kind of before and after, before the filter and after the filter. So these were taken a couple of days ago at Clifford Beach, which is near my house. And I was actually pretty lucky to get it at low tide. But the first thing I did when I got there was take a couple of quick shots without the filter. If you see here that I didn't have a NiSi filter on, and you can see how the water looks kind of choppy, and the sun doesn't, the sky doesn't have a lot of contrast in it. Okay, kind of boring, right? And what I tell people is this: if you're going to go out, got this expensive camera on, you're just taking a couple of quick shots without the filter on, it often almost looks like an iPhone shot. I'm going to be honest with you. This shot I took with a filter on looks very similar to the iPhone shot I took of the same scene just like a couple minutes after I took this. Okay. So then immediately I put the 10-stop on, and you can see how there's added contrast in the sky, and you can see how the water is smooth. And these are pretty much unedited shots as well, so you can see the difference. Here's another one. Shooting straight into the sun without a filter on. Check out that overexposed sun there. Straight into the sun. It's like, wow, you have really nothing to control the sun. Sure, you can stop down, but I've noticed without using a filter, shooting straight into the sun, it's like, wow, you always kind of get these kind of crazy halos around the sun. That's where my reverse grad ND filter comes in. The reverse grad ND filter is fantastic for controlling the exposure right at the horizon. So you know that's a fantastic filter to have into your bag, especially if you were shooting a sunrise or sunset and you're shooting straight into the sun. The ND part darkens it just straight right on the horizon. The darkest part is right here. So when you put it in your holder, you make sure that the darkest part is right around your horizon right here when you're shooting straight into the sun. And if you see here also, you see how the sky has a lot more contrast, and that's the ND filter for you. Okay. And also, This is another example of using the reverse grad. You've gotten a really nice controlled sun right in the middle of your horizon right here. Okay, and smooth water. Okay, here's another example. I was at the Barnegat Beach the other day, and I took the shot, no filter. You can see how, without the ND filter, you can see how bright the sun is right at the horizon. It's really, really blown out. So unless you really, really stop down, you're going to get a blown out sun. Now here I slapped my 10-stop filter on there, and you can see how beautiful the sky came. The sky has really, really nice contrast, and the water is nice and smooth. So you can see right here the difference in your shot right here. And this is what I tell people, if you're investing a lot of really expensive camera gear and you're not using filters in your landscape photography, sometimes I think, why invest this ton of money on good cameras if you're going out and trying to shoot, like, so for example, a beachscape without an ND filter on. So I tell people, if you want to complete your bag, and get a good tripod, get good filters to go with everything else that you spent your money on, you can't go wrong. I mean, I can't even tell you the difference between something like that and something like this. There's no comparison. Okay. All right, so now we're going to talk about wave trails. This is an example of a square filter, and this is what your 6-stop looks like. We're going to talk about the 6-stop. We're going to talk about the 10-stop, the grad ND, the grad 3-stop ND, and the reverse grad. And I'm going to show you several examples of each one that I used in the field. The 6-stop is good for slowing down your exposure up to show the movement in water. And usually with the 6-stop, I can get a couple of seconds exposure out of it. And if it's getting light out, I can get like at least, maybe a second or two. Okay. This is probably one of my most, my favorite beachscapes that I've ever taken. This was taken in, I believe this was Avalon or Ocean City. The Avalon Ocean City, the piers look almost exactly alike. And I actually had to go back and check to see, where in the world that I took these. But you see here, I slapped my 6-stop on, and I was able to just, expend that exposure just a little bit. And I think for this one, I put on an extra 3-stop ND over my 6-stop. Now, why would I do that? I put my 3-stop ND over my 6-stop to add even more contrast and darken the sky even more on the top. And the 6-stop I used to be able to extend the exposure. So with the longer exposure, I'm able to show that movement in the water and create a lot of drama. And you can imagine, like, if I wasn't using my ND filters in here, you wouldn't have gotten this kind of dramatic scape as you see here. And what I love about using the ND filters with Seascapes is that it kind of pulls you into the image. So it's a very nice composition to go get after. And sometimes I go to the beach and I play around with my filters in. I take all types of ray trails. And one thing about ray trails is that there's not a single one that's like the other, which is amazing. I must have taken like 30 or 40 shots of this, and they were all different. Okay, this is another example of a wave trail that I took in Barnegat. If anybody here has been to Barnegat, they have a very beautiful fishing pier. I go there quite often. The sunrises there are usually pretty good. And I use my 6-stop in order to show some movement in the water. And also it allowed me to kind of preserve the contrast in the sky. This image had very little editing. It was just an amazing sunrise. And I really loved how the filter allowed me to create this movement of water here. This is another one that I took in Belmar. I'm sorry, did I say Belmar or Barnegat? I don't remember. Okay, this is in Belmar. And this was actually a stack of 2 filters, a 6-stop and a 3-stop. I used the 6-stop to slow down the exposure, and you can see here that it created a lot of interest here. You got kind of this beautiful, silky, kind of misty water going on. And also it allowed me to darken my sky right at the horizon. So when I put the 3-stop on, I kind of put it right here, okay? So the 6-stop was all around, and then the 3-stop was right here. And also, this is a very good example of using a reverse grad. You can also use a reverse grad on here in order just to darken the sky, okay? This is another example in Belmar where I was able to exaggerate the movement of the water. And this is very similar to the one I just showed you up here. But here I just love to show this. It almost reminded me of a painting. And I recommend, if you guys haven't tried it yourself, I recommend, if you're going to buy some of the filters, to go buy them and try this out. And it's amazing what you can come up with. Here's another example of a wave trail. And for this one, I used my PhotoPo tripod and I actually got right into the water. You can see how close I was to the water here. When you're doing these beach scenes, I recommend, going in with a tripod and standing in the water. And what you do is you let the water come in, and then when the water leaves, start your exposure. And most of these that I'm showing you here, they're about 1 to 2 seconds a piece. And again, you can see the movement in the water, nice and slowed down. This would not have looked like this, of course, without a filter on. This is another one in Belmar where, again, I was in pretty deep water at this point. I got pretty soaked, but if you get yourself, some waders, some muck boots, you'll be good to go. It was kind of cold that morning too. Here's another instance. Actually, this is not in Barnegat. I think this was in Ocean City. This is not Barnegat. That's a mistake. Sorry about that. I walked around and I was trying to find a unique composition, and I saw these shells, and I decided to see what a longer exposure would look like using the shells. So again, I mean, you're going to the same beach over and over again, and using the filters, taking the longer exposures, you can have a different composition every time you go, which is pretty amazing. Here's another example of wave trails. Again, my mother was a painter, and she painted with a lot of pastels, and she painted a lot of water scenes. And this kind of reminds me of a painting that my mother used to use. This reminded me of a painting that my mother did. And you can see how the movement of the water and the long exposure kind of looks like brush strokes. But you won't achieve this kind of movement with a heavy filter like a 10-stop, because then your exposure will be just too long. So I definitely recommend something lighter, like either 3 and 5-stop together, or a 6-stop, just to slow down the exposure just long enough to show movement in the water. This is one of my favorites images that I've probably ever taken at the beach. I was able to get down very, very low underneath this pier and show movement of the water. And that day, the movement of the water was very ripply. And with the long exposure, I was actually able to capture a beautiful reflection of the water underneath the fishing pier and kind of mirror the top to the bottom. And again, I would not have captured this beautiful reflection or this beautiful movement without using the filter. Okay, so let's talk about the reverse ND grad. Again, NiSi sells reverse ND grads in all types of sizes. I use the large one, the 150 by 170 for my S5 kit over my Nikon 14 to 24. And this filter again is darker in the middle. And I typically will slide the filter into the holder and darken just the middle part and where the sun is. It really is a game changer when you're shooting into the sun. Absolutely. So this is an example of what I would use the reverse ND grad for. I think I showed you another example of this image. I was using several filters that day, and I was able to use my reverse ND grad right at the horizon and not blow out the sun. This is another one where I used the reverse ND grad, and I was able to get this beautiful sunburst and a controlled sun using my reverse grad. So I replaced the middle part of the reverse grad right at the horizon, and I was able to get a gorgeous sun. And I didn't get that horribly annoying halo around the sun that you can get without using a filter. And let me tell you something, I challenge any one of you guys to go out and shoot straight into the sun and not get one of those annoying halos. I think that, I know that NiSi now sells a lens that you can actually shoot at any aperture and get a beautiful, beautiful sunburst. I know that Kawhi actually has one. He has it for Sony. If any of you guys are interested in hearing more about that lens, I'm sure Kawhi can talk about it at the end of this presentation. But again, I would have never been able to shoot straight into the sun like this without using a reverse grad, because I mean, it really, really helps you control your exposure right in the middle here. And, you know, having the reverse grad is really important when you're living near the beach like I do. I think this beach is maybe a mile from my house, so I'm there quite often. Okay, so let's talk about the 10 stop. The 10 stop is probably my favorite filter that I have in my bag. I love using the 10 stop to create longer exposure than I normally would. And also it's good to be able to create smooth, misty water and rushing clouds. Having a smooth, misty water and rushing clouds really creates a lot of drama in your image. And it makes the image, I think, a lot more interesting than if you were to shoot something very quickly without a filter. I think it just creates a lot of different compositions for you. And also whenever I'm out there and I'm like, for me, I'm shooting a landscape, I'm always thinking of a painting. I'm always thinking about what my mother would paint. And when you're looking at rushing clouds, I also think about, you know, the strokes of a paintbrush. And, you know, the clouds remind me of strokes of a paintbrush, as well as the water that I showed you before. Having that water movement, it to me is very beautiful. And it makes your image kind of look like a painting, which is, I think, what a lot of us are after. And also what I have to say about the best thing about having the 10 stop, the NiSi 10 stop, is no color cast. I was using Lee before, and every single image that I was taking with the Lee filter had a very annoying blue color cast. All of my images were coming out blue. And I think the least thing you want to do when you're taking an image using a 10 stop is you have to correct it in post. You want to be able to take your image and have it look exactly like how you shot it. So I think, you know, the important thing is that when you're out there and you're shooting these beautiful, beautiful colors of a sunrise, for example, you want to be able to preserve the color. You want the color to look exactly how you took it. So, you know, slapping that 10 stop on there, you shouldn't have to deal again with that annoying, you know, blue color cast that's typical on so many other filter systems. And, you know, NiSi is a little bit more expensive than some of the other ones, but I tell people, you know, you're basically taking something of such high quality that it's actually preserving your color for you. And, you know, when you're out there and you're up at like 5 in the morning and you're witnessing this gorgeous, gorgeous sunrise, you want to be able to see that gorgeous, gorgeous color in your image, and you don't want to have to deal with kind of correcting a color. Because to me, I think if you're taking a gorgeous sunrise like this and dealing with the filter that gives you a color cast, you're trying to correct it back to the way it was. I'm not really sure how much of that original color you can get back once you get the cast. So for me, I tell people, look, spend the money, you know, get a good filter system that does not leave all that color cast, like something like this. So again, you know, if you want to shoot a long exposure and get frozen water like this, you want to get your 10 stop on there so that, you know, your water is smoothed out. So here's another thing I talk about, using your 10-step ND filter. And this is actually my setup in the field. This is my D850. I took this behind the scenes shot the other day at the beach near my house. This is my Photo Pro tripod. This is my the D850 with the Nikon 14-24 lens, and I've got the NiSi S5 filter system that fits over my lens element. I have to say that a wide lens like the 14-24 on a camera like the D850 and using a large filter system like this is a total game changer for landscape photography. When you're able to shoot at a super wide lens like this, it's like, again, it's such a game changer to be able to use filters with the amazing lens like the Nikon 14-24. So again, what you want to do is before you start using the 10-stop, compose, get your focus, calculate your exposure time, set up your aperture and ISO, and then attach your filter. You don't want to be trying to do this while you have the filter on. Your filter should be the last step when you're doing this. If you're using a lighter filter like the 3-stop, you can see through it, no problem. But trying to get a good composition, trying to get a good focus with the filter on is actually quite difficult. Again, do all that stuff beforehand, get your proper focus, put the filter on, and then take your shot. I mean, this is an example of taking a really long exposure, like using the 10-stop. I believe this is about 30 seconds. And you can see here that definitely to me reminds me of a painting. You've got this beautiful, beautiful misty water and gorgeous clouds that have perfect color and with a lot of contrast. And when I tell people is this, I mean, you go outside without sunglasses on, the sun is blaring. The sky does not have a lot of contrast. You put a pair of sunglasses on, those sunglasses really, really add a lot of nice contrast to the sky. So the ND filters are actually very similar to sunglasses. And that's why I tell people, you're not going to go outside in blaring sun without sunglasses on, right? It's going to hurt your eyes. To me, do the same thing when using your filters. I mean, you don't want to be taking these images without using your ND filters on, okay? Okay, and again, this is the same shot, Cliffwood Beach. Believe it or not, this shot is actually unedited. It was actually this vibrant at this particular sunrise, if you can believe that. Again, my ND filters, these NiSi ND filters allow you to take a long exposure using a heavy filter like a 10-stop without any color cast. I mean, I could not believe when I first started using these filters 3 years ago, and I went out there with the 10-stop and I said, let's just see about this. I was using leaf filters for a while. I could not believe how well it preserved the original color. I was amazed. So I'm able to take a long exposure like this with a very, very vibrant sunrise and have no change in color whatsoever. Total game changer. Here's another example of a long exposure. I was able to get this beautiful, beautiful misty water over the rocks. This is Cliffwood Beach near my house. I'm very lucky to live near such a beautiful beach. And the water was kind of coming up over these rocks, and I was able to get, a very, very nice beach scene using the 10-stop. This one again, this is taken in Belmar. Another very long exposure with the 10-stop. I believe this might have been 20 to 30 seconds. I'd have to look it up. This is another one where I'm taking a super long exposure. I was able to get very nice silky water going over these frozen rocks. And I was able to shoot this gorgeous beach scene with rushing clouds. And again, this one definitely reminded me of a painting. And this is another one I took of that absolutely insane morning, a super long exposure, frozen, beautiful, gorgeous, silky water, no color change whatsoever. This is exactly what the sunrise looked like. Another one in Belmar. I believe this was with the 10 stop. I was able to preserve this gorgeous color here of the sky. Okay. So let's talk about using the graduated NiSi filters now. I typically use the graduated filters when I'm shooting a landscape where I just want to have preserve the color in the sky. And I'm maybe shooting something overland like sand or whatever, okay? I use the 3-stop a lot when I'm actually creating stacked images that have a sky. So if anybody's familiar with stacked images, I'll actually shoot very, very close to my subject, take a focus stack, and then as my last exposure, I'll have the soft graduated ND part just over the sky. So that's my final element of the image. And I'll actually show you that in a minute. I've got the 3-stop and the 5-stop in my bag. I use them quite a bit, and I actually use them stacked together as well. So sometimes I'll stack the 3 and 5-stop together to have maybe Russian clouds in my sky, and I'll kind of leave the bottom part without a filter so that's part of my stack. And I'll show you a couple of images. This one is actually not a stack. I just wanted to show you that this is an example of just using the 3-stop, just darkening this part of the sky and leaving this alone. We actually took this in very high wind, and I was at a trip in Norway in February with Kauai, and the wind would just blow you over. So taking a long exposure at that point was really not an option. And if I'm in a situation where it's so windy that I can't take a really long exposure, I'll just slap the 3-stop grad on there and at least be able to darken the sky. So that's what I did in this case. This is an example of a focus stack where I had actually this is in Norway, and I used the 3-stop grad just in the sky area here. Okay, so actually I had moved my filter up, and then I did not have the filter at the bottom. I didn't need it. So I was actually focus stacking the sand here to create a pattern, but then I wanted to create some contrast in the sky. So I had my filter right there. Okay. My computer's hesitating. Hold on a minute. Okay. This is another example of using the 3-stop graduated filter. I was creating an image that had a sand pattern in it, and my camera was very, very close to the sand. And I was able to fill the composition with this beautiful natural sand pattern. And then, but I had the 3-stop right in the sky right here. So I was able to get that wonderful contrast in the sky, and then be able to have this part without the filter on it. And I was able to focus stack through here. My last image was of just the sky, and I took a quick exposure of the sky with the filter on, and I was able to pull out a lot of contrast and color from the sky. Here's another example of probably one of my favorite beachscapes that I've taken. This was taken again in Norway, and I had my camera positioned right above this amazing sand element here. And again, this is several images stacked. I started to stack from here, focus stacked all the way up, and then I had my ND grad just over the sky here, and the soft part of it ended probably right around here. Okay, there was really no need to have the ND filter here. I was just photographing land, so I needed it for the sky because I wanted to pull out this color and contrast here and add some drama. Another example of a focus stack beachscape. I was able to focus stack here, and then I had my ND up here, and the ND again allowed me to pull a lot of color out from the sky. Another example of the focus stack. Again, not much color here, but was able to create a lot of drama. What I did with this one is that I combined two filters, the soft graduated 3-stop and the soft 5-stop, just in the sky area here to create this these rushing clouds. And then I didn't have any filters going on in here. I didn't need them. And I also was able to see as I was stacking. So I was able to focus stack all the way up through here. And then my filter stopped right around the horizon right here. Another example, if any of you guys have been to Ocean City, actually Ocean City has natural ripples in the sand that change all the time. And it's actually one of the only beaches in New Jersey that I've been to that have these natural sand patterns in it during low tide. So if any of you guys really want a really cool beach scene, take a drive down to Ocean City and get right down on the sand and you'll be able to create some awesome elements. And again, I had my filter up here and it stopped right around here and I focus stack straight through here. Okay. And the last image I want to show you is I took this in Barnegat during a polar vortex, I believe last year around this time. We actually had a polar vortex where it was just all ice. And again, this is a focus stack. I was standing in the ice and my camera was really close to the rock and I had my filter like probably right around here. Okay. And again, look at this gorgeous, gorgeous color in the sky. Absolutely no color contrast, no color cast whatsoever. I was able to preserve a lot of gorgeous color in the sky right here. Okay, so let's talk about the filter system. Which one should I choose? So there's a whole bunch of different filter systems that are available to you based on your lens thread. So basically what you might be dealing with is if you have a super wide lens like the Nikon 14-24, you have to get a special holder just for that. And NiSi sells holders for a whole bunch of different super wide angle lenses like the Nikon 14-24. And also NiSi sells the filter systems for the smaller threads, like maybe the 82 or 77, 72 or 67. So it really depends on your lens thread. If you don't want such an expensive filter system, then maybe get the filter system for your normal lens. I know that there's a lot of I think the Nikon 16-35 is 77. I think Nikon, most of their lenses are 77, except the super wide ones. I recommend maybe getting a lens like that so that you can buy a smaller filter system. So this is the V6 starter kit is something that I actually sell quite often. And a lot of my workshop clients have lenses that can fit the system. So basically what the system has is it has a whole bunch of adapter rings that you can fit onto your lens. Again, I see some of my clients, they have smaller ones or bigger ones. It depends on your camera system. Basically what this includes is it actually includes a circular polarizer. It includes your holder and 2 filters, your 10-stop and 3-stop grad. And also includes this beautiful case and this little thing for getting dust off. And the awesome thing about this is that you can add on filters to your kit as well. And I recommend when someone's buying this to actually also buy the 6-stop, which is I showed you for getting your wave trails. So a 6-stop, your 3-stop grad, and your 10-stop are really pretty much all you need to get you started using NiSi filters. This is the kit that I use. This is the holder for the 14-24 lens. For any of you guys shooting Nikon, I think the 14-24 Nikon is probably one of the best lenses. It's probably the best lens I've ever used for anything. I use it all the time. It is fantastic. It's also amazing in Astro also. And the cool thing is that you can get, the system allows you to put a holder straight over your lens, and it comes with a built-in circular polarizer that you can have on there or remove. And then I recommend if you're going to buy this, then to get the larger kit that has all the different filters in it. And this slide kind of gives you an idea of everything for each kind of system. Basically, the ones that I use the most are the 100mm system and the 150mm system. The S5 is the one that I use. Okay. The 180 system, I think that's for the Canon 11-24. I heard that is just an amazing lens for landscapes. This is the one that you would use if you had that lens. So again, I mean, this is the one that you would get if you had the Nikon 14-24, and this is the one that I use. That's the one in my bag. And this is another picture of my setup from the other day. And also, you know, you have, you know, different types of ND filters, your 3-stop, your 6-stop, and your 10-stop. So that's basically it. I thought I would just talk for about 45 minutes, and then I would leave you guys open to, you know, any questions that you have. Kawai? Kawai can, yes, hello.
Yeah, I'm here. Okay, so we have a few questions from a chat room. Give me 1 second.
You probably want to talk a little bit louder. It's hard to hear you.
Okay.
Okay, I can hear you better now.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, yeah, we have a few questions. John asked, do the filter have to reduce or eliminate the flare when shooting directly into the sun? So I answer him that it does not. Okay, because the flare are mostly caused by the refraction of the lights inside the lens. The filters can reduce them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And the question from Steve, with reverse graduate filters, where do you meter for correct exposure? And the other question is a similar question. When setting up a shoot, which area of contrast the scenes do you use to set up your f-stop, shutter speed, and ISO? The brighter area or the darker area? Got a question, Jennifer?
I'm sorry?
You got a question?
Me?
What are you doing there?
No, you're answering them.
No. Steve is asking with the reverse graduate filters, where do you meter for correct exposure? And Linda has a similar question. When setting up the shot, which area of contrasty scene do you use to set up your setting? The brighter area or the darker area? Do you want me to answer that? So,
I mean, you can answer that, but I typically go for the darker area. But
yeah, so we should go for the darker area because the brighter area already blocked by the dark part of the graduate filter. So we always make the setting to the darker area. Okay. So Pete asked me one of the photo. I'm not sure which photo he was referring to. Is that composite, or are you using both filters at the same times?
Which you can ask him which image is he talking about, and I can pull it up.
So it's Pete here. Can you unmute your mic and which can you tell us which photo you refer to? Okay, let's go to the next question. I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem.
So when you recommend a 6-stop Andy, do you get a similar effect when using a circular polarizer plus a 3-stop Andy?
No, I think that you can extend exposure quite a bit longer than you would with the polarizer and the 3-stop.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about a very light combination for a much darker one.
I think she's asking, is the 6-stop Andy filter similar to when you're stacking the CPL and the 3-stop Andy? It's not. This the NiSi CPL is roughly about 1 to 1.5 stop. So Andy filter is about 3 Andy 3-stop is 3-stop. So
right.
So when you stack them together, it's about 4 to 4.5 stops. So you can get up to 6 stops.
Mhm.
Okay.
I mean, this is also a lot of practice, right? I mean, I kind of, I've been shooting for so long that I kind of have a lot of the stuff in my head. I don't meter a lot. I kind of just guess the exposure. I'm usually right. But I mean, that's not good advice for someone who is just starting out using filters. So, you know, definitely use that card that we were showing.
Yeah, I think just a general rules when you're shooting a long exposure, if you need a short exposure like half second, 1 second, maybe up to 5 seconds, you can start with 6 stop ND filters. If you want to do like 1 or 2 minute exposure, probably you want to start with 10 stop ND. If 10 stop ND is too long for 1 or 2 minutes, then you can go to 6 stop. Yeah, it's just a general idea to start with.
Right.
Yeah. So will the S5 fit on the new 14 to 24 f2.8 line for the Z system, the Nikon Z system? It does not. So each of the S5 filter holder are specially designed for that particular lens. So I think we have the new filters holder for especially for the Z system. Okay, so it's different from the one for the full frame camera.
Right. And I'm like, I have the Z7, so I'm thinking about getting that 14 to 24 for the Z7. And if I do, then I'll start testing that
Yeah.
system for that lens.
Okay,
stay tuned on that one.
so you already tried that, right? It doesn't work on that
No.
lens. Yeah.
No,
So
no.
because all of those filters are specially designed for that particular lens.
You know that 14 to 24 for the Z series is not
Mhm.
a humongous element like for the DSLR. It's mirrorless.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have that huge element.
Yeah, the design is a little different. So all the wide angle lens, the design of the front element and the size are a little bit different.
That's right.
So they can switch in between the lens.
Yeah, I
So
mean, I'm probably gonna get those filters for the Z line as well. So I'll be able to probably answer those questions if I start using it in the field.
Yep. Okay, JRs, I use the lens that accommodates 62, 72, 77, and 95 millimeter. Is there one kit for all this, or do I need to buy 2 kits? Yeah, for 62, 77, and 72, you can use the V6 system, the 100 millimeter system. For the 95, which I just want to know which one is that, the 95 millimeter.
I think that's for the really long lens, like the Nikon, the 200 to 500, I think is that big.
Yeah, yes, I know some of the lens, some of the very wide angle lens, they have the 95 millimeter thread. So if that's the case, you might need a 150 millimeter lens and get a 95 millimeter whole adapter on it. But if that is a telephoto lens, like Jennifer said, like 200 to 500 millimeter lens with the 95 millimeter, I don't think you really need the filters for that lens. You rarely need the filters for the telephoto lens.
But you know what?
The
only instances that, for example, if we're getting the shot of the sunrise over a sunset over the Statue of Liberty,
yeah,
it's nice to have an ND filter on there. But the cool thing about those lenses is that I'm able to stop down to like f32. You know, I'm able to go down f32 at pinhole aperture, and I really don't need a filter for it. But if you don't want to be shooting at the pinhole aperture, then yes, having an ND filter on it is good. But you can't take long exposures with a long lens like that anyway. You just can't. I mean, you know, if you're trying to get something longer than a second, you're definitely at risk of a lot of shake. So, you know, that's kind of like, I don't know. I wouldn't think that you would really need an ND filters for a long lens like that.
Yeah. So yeah, as Jennifer said, unless you have something in mind, otherwise we rarely use the extreme long lens for the long exposure. We
So-
rarely use it. Okay. And every photographer asks, any discount code associated with this webinar? Yes, we have. So let me share the screen. So give me 1 second. So this is the discount code for today, for the guest for today. Live 15 Jennifer, you can get 15% off at the NiSiOpticUSA.com. So it expires on 31st of January. Okay, so if you want to buy something, it's a good time to buy something on NiSi Optic USA, and you can take 15% off.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, and some of you asked if you can watch the seminar after the live. Yes, we have all the seminar recorded, and they are all in our YouTube page on the NiSi Optic USA or the Facebook page of the NiSi Optic USA. So you're welcome to go back to our social media and just watch all our previous seminar. Okay.
I have to add one thing about about the seminar I just gave.
Yep.
I think the main thing in photography is that you need to have an idea in your mind about what you want to portray before you're going out into the field.
Yeah.
And based on what you want to portray with the Seascape is the filter that you should use. If you want to show a wave trail, then maybe you get a 5-stop grad or a 6-stop. If you want to show something very long, frozen water, misty, slap a 10-stop on there.
Mm-hmm.
If you just want to do a stack where you just want to show a sky, not water movement, then use your 3-stop. Of course, you're going to have your bag with you, but try to have an idea in your mind before you're heading out. And that's kind of the imagine part that I talk about in a lot of the photography is, what is your composition? What do you want to imagine? What do you want to portray? It's sort of like an artist, with a blank canvas. What do you want to show? And I think understanding what kind of filter you need based on what you want to show is very, very important. And I think with practice, then you'll get used to that.
Yeah.
But hopefully I was able to show you all the different types of images that you can create using a Seascape and the filter that kind of goes along with them. So,
Yeah.
so using the filters really expands the amount of types of images you can portray rather than just something that looks like it's taken from a phone. And that's
Yeah.
the biggest thing I can say is, do you want this image to look like it's taken from a phone with a $2,000 camera, or do you want something that looks like a work of art? And I think the filters allow you to create something that looks like a work of art and not something that was taken with the phone.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. Every landscape, every photo has to be must have a creative intention behind the photo. So
Yes.
so you have to have the idea in mind what you want to create. Do you need a long exposure? So
Right.
filter is just a tool to fulfill your intention, to fulfill your creative intention. Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. So Pete asked Andy 3 on top and 6 on the bottom used at the same time. Yeah, we can always stack the filter together as Jennifer mentioned. Yeah. So in case of the high contrast scenery, the brighter sky and the darker ground, we can always use the grad Andy filters to block the light from the sky. At the same time, if you want to do the long exposure for some of the wave trail as Jennifer showed, then you just add one more 6-stop Andy filters. You want to do an extreme long exposure, then just add a 10-stop Andy filters. You can always stack them together. So generally the Andy filters, the holder has 3 slots. Okay, so you can stack up to 3 filters plus the CPL. So you can use up to 4 filters at the same times.
Great. Also, I forgot to add something that I didn't really talk about my settings too much. Typically, when I'm using that lens, my lens is sharpest at f8. General rule is I usually shoot all my landscapes at f8. ISO 64, I shoot at the lowest ISO I can at f8, and then I adjust my exposure based on based on the filter that I have. So as a general rule, set it to f8, go down as low as you can on the ISO, and then adjust your seconds based on how heavy an ND you have on there. Okay?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this also answered the Donna question: what aperture you use? So,
Yep.
Okay.
F8.
Yeah. Yeah. The general is f8. So people used to use the f8 to 11 for landscape photography. Yeah.
Excuse me, I have a
just a general
question.
rule. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This is Gino. How are you?
Hi, Gino.
I have a question for Jennifer. Hi, Jennifer.
Hey.
Is there a way to get a PDF or go on your website to know your kit for NiSi filters?
This you mean PDF of this or just of using filters in general?
Just your filters, what you use. Is it located on your website or?
I think Kauai, it's they can download like a book or something from the.
Yeah. So
I'm more interested in what Jennifer uses, what her filters are though, and maybe you too.
Okay. Can you leave me your email in the chat rooms? I can send you some information to your email, to your mailbox.
Okay,
Okay.
that'd be great.
Yeah.
Thanks. I'm gonna unmute myself now.
Yeah. Thank you. So Karen asks, so do I need a 150mm system in the stack picture to able to get the soft red higher at the image? Could you possibly demonstrate, or how many stack do you typically make?
How many stacks do I use? I don't understand the question.
Yeah, I don't really get it. Karen, if you are here, can unmute your mic and elaborate your question?
I think people can also unmute their mics and just ask. We can make this more informal if they like.
Yeah, you can always unmute your mic. yeah, we are not that.
I'm gonna go to the bar, but I think I'll skip that now.
Yeah, we are not that scary, so you can always unmute your mic and say something.
Me and Kauai are not going anywhere.
Okay, so another question: can you clarify when you will select a reverse ND versus the grad ND? Okay,
yes.
Jennifer, go ahead.
The sun. I want to grab that sunrise. I want to go to Belmar. I want to walk right on the jetty. I'm staring straight at the sun. What do I use? Reverse grad. I got my reverse grad right on the horizon. I know where that sun's coming up. Like, I've used my photo pills. That's another discussion, but I know where the sun's going to come up. I slap my reverse grad on there, and bam, when that sun comes up, I'm darking the horizon and perfect.
Yeah.
Now, soft grad, I'm not shooting straight into the sun, right? Maybe I'm doing a stacked image. Maybe I'm doing something before sunrise. I've got my soft grad on there. I'm not trying to darken a particular area. I just want to darken a little bit of the sky. That's when I use the soft grad. He's got his. Right. You explained right there.
Yeah, just to make it easier. So reverse graduate filters is used to shoot for the sunrise and sunset when the sun is in the middle of your image. Okay, so because the glasses has the darkest, densest part in the middle of the glasses, so we use it for sunrise and sunset. Okay, so reverse. So just keep in mind, this is a take-home message. Reverse grad just for sunrise and sunset when the sun is in the middle of your image. Otherwise, in most of situation, we often use a graduate neutral density filter, soft GND. Okay. Yep. Is that clear? Okay. So the next question: how many should do you use to focus stack?
Okay. Typically, probably 3 to 5. Probably not more, about 5. So focus stacking, I want to create a very interesting foreground element in order to kind of bring people into the image. And, wave trails do that all the time. But if I want to do something on land, focus stack. So I'm basically have my lens right above the sand. For example, if I'm shooting a focus stack seascape, I'm focusing directly in front of me. I'm focusing kind of in the middle, and then I'm focusing on the sky. And that's the sky part is where I have the filter when I was telling you guys about. So it depends on how much in the foreground I want to show and how sharp I want to show it. It's not always necessary to do 5. Sometimes I do 3. It depends on what I want to show. That one, the ones that I showed you from Norway, those were all 5 because that was kind of a complicated thing to do because I was showing a very distinct pattern in the sand that had to be extremely sharp. That required at least 5.
Okay, so yeah, and Jace and Bob mentioned that the Sigma 150 to 600 millimeter lens and the Nikon 200 to 500 millimeter lens has 95 millimeter thread size. So again, as Jennifer said, unless you have something in mind, you want to use this lens for the filters or long exposure. Otherwise, we rarely use this lens for long exposure. We rarely use the long telephoto for long exposure. So if you really want the use of filters in this lens, you probably have to go for the 150 millimeter system, and then to get a 95 millimeter adapter for it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if NiSi has a 95 millimeter screw in, but it might be kind of awkward to be using a square filter system, like maybe 150 to 170 over, a long lens like that. That might be a little awkward to use because, also I wanted to say that when you're using something as long as a 250 millimeter lens, you cannot have any vibration or shaking. You don't want to have any extra weight at the end of the lens either. Any tiniest little bit of vibration, you're going to notice it in your picture right away. It's different than a wide lens. Wide lens is totally different. I mean, it's a lot harder to see the vibration using a wide lens than something at 500 millimeter. So, I mean, I totally recommend, if NiSi makes a 95 millimeter screw-on filter, that's probably your best bet than kind of heavy and awkward, square system at the end of your lens.
Yeah,
why do you want to use a long exposure that long anyway? I mean, that's I tell people, don't go above a second. If you want to go longer than a second, you're going to get shake. You're going to get some kind of shake. You just can't use that long lens for, long exposures. Right, Kawai? What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's one of the solutions. If you really want to use it, you can go for the round filters for 95 millimeters. I had a client who asked me to who has a 95 millimeter lens. I think it's a medium format wide angle lens with 95 millimeter, and we have to custom make the adapter for him. So it's just not cheap, and it's a little bit cumbersome to carry this thing around. So if you really need it, round filter is an option. Yeah.
For sure, with that long of a lens, yeah.
Yeah.
Again, I would only use that if I'm purposely shooting something far away, like the Statue of Liberty. But again, when I'm shooting the sun over the Statue of Liberty, I just stop down to f/32, get the pinhole aperture, and my images are fine. I don't need it. So it really depends. I mean, unless I'm shooting straight into the sun, like I'm shooting an eclipse or something like that. If you're shooting an eclipse, then of course you need some kind of filter system on there.
I just want to add one thing. If you want to shoot your eclipse or sun with the ND filters, you can use 15 or 20 stop ND filters.
For sure.
But I just want to remind you guys that these filters are not designed for the visual. Are not designed for use with, to look through with the eye, with the naked eye. It's not graded for the visual astronomy use. So you can use them for photography. You can use them for taking photo, but you can't see the sun through the ND 15 or 20 stop. Okay, it's not going to block those harmful lights like the UV or something. Yeah.
You need special glasses for that.
Yep.
Even even when you're shooting the sunrise over the Statue of Liberty, you really should be wearing some kind of special glasses for that. I mean, these filters are not going to protect your eye from harmful rate. Even stopping down to f/32, you're looking at that and it could still hurt your eyes.
Yeah. Okay, so question from Kai. So I plan to upgrade to Canon 11 to 24. Do I need to buy different adapter? Will it also fit my 8 and 15 millimeter fisheye lens? So I am using the Canon 11 to 24 millimeter lens. Yes, you need a new you need a new filters holder for that. So 11 to 24 lens use the 180 millimeter filter system. So probably you have to buy the new holder and the new filters. Yeah,
I think I actually showed that in one of my slides.
Yeah.
This presentation, it included that filter system for the 11 to 24. And I think that's also a slide from one of your presentations, Kawai, that you have that.
Yeah.
You probably have that in that presentation you just showed, but definitely you need a special adapter for that.
Yeah, that adapter, that holder is different from what you use for Sigma 12 to 24. It's totally different. Okay, so you have to get a new one. And I don't think we have something to fit on 8 to 15 millimeter fisheye lens. No, I don't think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I Can you hear me? This is Mike.
Yeah, hi, Mike. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm trying to get a little clarification on, again, on your focus stacking. Since you're using a D850, I'm assuming you're using the focus shift mode for that camera to automatically run your stack, or you're doing it all manual?
I do all manual.
Okay.
You know what? If people know me, I do most of my photography purely manual. So what I'm doing is I'm actually auto-focusing different focus points in my stack. I'm actually auto-focusing it. So what I'm doing is I'm shooting in live view and on my back LCD panel, and I'm actually moving my joystick up, which is like a little box, and I'm actually moving it up the image, and I'm actually focus stacking at different points of it. And then my final image is the one of the sky where I have my filter on it.
Yeah. So is the filter already in place when you're doing this, and then you're just changing the focus, and then obviously the last one is the
darker sky. Yes.
Yeah.
I have my filter. I use a graduated 3-stop for those, and I have the filter just over the sky, and the bottom has nothing.
Yes, it's clear. The bottom of that half of that filter is clear.
Clear. That's right. Yep. And so if you see any of my focus images that I was showing you, the sky had a lot of contrast because I had the filter on it. I could not have achieved that kind of sky without it. That's why I tell people, you know, I'm not going to get the same result if I'm not using one. So that's basically.
So have you tried, I'm just curious, have you tried using it with a focus, the focus shift that the camera has? If you're just using,
no,
okay.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not the best at using all of my camera features. I learned how to shoot on film cameras back in the day. I'm not gonna tell you how old I am, but when I first started shooting, they didn't have digital cameras. It was all film. So I learned how to shoot using old film cameras. And the crazy thing is, like, learning how to shoot on those, you kind of understand how to manually, shoot an image. That's basically how I started photography. So I use very few options on my camera, actually, even though I have, the D850 and the Z7, I actually use very few options. I don't even know where that option is, to be honest with you. And I get asked that all the time. I don't even know where that is.
All right, thank you. That was helpful to clarify. I also grew up on a Nikon FM, so
okay.
Fully manual.
Yeah, I actually, my first camera was the Minolta X370. So way back in the day. And using old film cameras like that, it was very hard to be wrong. It's not like I can fire off 100 images now and be like, okay, I'll just delete them. You're putting film in there. So you have to be pretty correct in your exposures when you're using old film cameras like that. So I would actually love to try that focus stack one day, and I appreciate you bringing that up. I definitely would love to learn how to do that.
Great.
Jennifer.
Hi, Karen.
Hi, Jennifer. My question was on the same pictures when you're talking about the soft grad only over the sky. So is the filter long enough to move it up that far?
Yes.
Okay. That was my question from earlier.
I pull it up so that I make sure that the dark part is over the sky and not over the area that I want to stack.
But the glass still covers the lens. The filter is long enough so when you move it up towards the sky, that it will still cover, the clear part will still cover all of the bottom of that image. Okay.
Gotcha. But it's a graduated soft, so it's slowly fading away. So you still have some of it, at the horizon, but it's gradual, right? I actually don't use the hard. I use the graduated soft because I do so much focus stacking.
Okay, that was my question from earlier.
Sure,
Thank you.
Sure. You're welcome.
Yeah, the length of GND, is 150 millimeters, so it's more than enough to slide up and down and cover your whole image. Yeah.
So you are using the 150, not the 100.
Oh, actually,
Oh,
actually, when we refer to the 100 millimeter system, okay, is the size of the width. Okay, so the width is 100 millimeter. If you are talking about ND filter, it's 100 millimeter times 100 millimeter. If you are talking about GND, the graduate neutral density filter is 100 millimeter times 150 millimeter. Okay, so the graduate filter is rectangular. Okay,
Rectangular, yes.
but both of these are we refer to a 100 millimeter system. Yeah,
Okay,
you got
thank
it.
you.
Yep.
Mhm.
So I have a question. Can you use the ND filters like what the hard I what I think what you mean is that can you use the ND and put in a halfway and use it as a GND? You can't do that, okay?
No, because then you'll have all that area.
Because there's a line in between them. You put it halfway, then you can see a very definite line around in between it. Okay, so with the GND filter, there's a transition between the dark and the transparent part. So you can do that. Yeah. And a question from Richard: when do you use or not to use the circular polarizer for the seascape photography?
I mean, if I want to not have that reflection and see straight to the bottom, then I would use it. And I didn't actually show a lot of images with the circular polarizer on because I was showing seascapes. So definitely, like, for example, Montauk. I don't know if anybody of you guys have been to Montauk, but Montauk is a very rocky place. And the cool thing about that is that when you're walking on the beach, you can actually, you know, you're walking along the beach side, and sometimes the tide comes in and you can see the rocks and beautiful things below. If you want to cut down the reflection and actually see below, or even when you're shooting a waterfall, then you would use a polarizer. Okay, I don't use my circular polarizer a lot, but if I go to, like, say it's waterfall season, it's in the fall, and I'm going up upstate New York and shooting a whole bunch of waterfalls, then for sure I use circular polarizer with waterfalls or streams. You know, you want to shoot autumn and you want to shoot streams. You want to show the stuff that's in the bottom of the stream, right? That's when you would use circular polarizer. Go straight to the bottom, right, Kawhi? How would you do that?
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
Okay.
So we have another question. Is your stuff? Do you use sunrise and sunset apps to predict a good sunrise and sunset? If so, what do you use?
I analyze cloud cover, and then I look to see when a storm is coming.
No, sunrise and sunset. The apps for sunrise and sunset.
No, I don't.
Photo
I have
pair.
my internal sunrise meter.
Yeah, I think he.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I think he's talking about photo pills.
Photo pills doesn't do it. Actually, TPE does.
Yeah, photo did. Yeah, to tell you when and where is the sunrise and sunset.
Yeah, you no, but I think what they mean is when you're going to have the best sunrise and sunsets. That's the sunrise app. You can use photo pills to see when the sun is coming up and going down. But in order to get the app that tells you when the best sunrise or sunset is, then
you have to check for the weather. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, TPE has Skyfire, and here, I don't know if you can see you can actually see my phone, but can you see that?
No.
No. Can you see
it? TPE. Yeah, the TPE is
Skyfire.
So TPE, you can search on the App Store. TPE, the photographer ephemeris. TPE. Right. Yeah.
I have to say, like, this thing for predicting amazing sunrises, this thing is on the money all the time. And the incredible thing about this is that when this shows total cloud cover, this is more accurate than the weather apps. So when this thing is going to like all white, whereas like totally overcast, I'll look at the weather app and it'll say partly cloudy, and this thing says overcast. Guess what? I'll wake up at 5 a.m. and look at this. It says overcast. I'll walk outside and there's not a break in the clouds anywhere. So I use my photo pills for everything, but I do use this occasionally in order to check the weather, and this is very accurate. So this is a subscription. I think it's like $9.99 for 3 months, but it's just fantastic. So sometimes, you know, it shows a very, very dark red area where the sunrise is going to be the best. And I've actually gotten in the car and changed my point of where I'm going to shoot a sunrise based on this, if you can believe that. So when it has a very, very dark red, that's when the sunrise is going to be very good, or the sunset. I've actually taken helicopter rides when this thing has been deep red over New York and it's been right on the money. Amazing sunset. So it's pretty accurate. Okay.
Okay, so question from Daniel. So where do you use a Z7 versus a 850?
I use my D850 most of the time. I like my Z7, but it gets spots on it a lot, and I'm kind of lazy about bringing it in to get clean. So if you want to know, I use my D850 probably about 75% of the time, just because the Z7 for me, it just gets dirty so much. I mean, God forbid you have to change your lens in the field. It just tracks dust everywhere. So I use my D850 most of the time.
Okay, so a question from Pam on Facebook.
Yeah.
When focus stacking, do you leave the soft grad filters on the whole times, or just put on the last shoot for the sky?
No, it's on the whole time. You don't want to touch it.
Mm-hmm.
You do not, when you're shooting a focus stack, you do not want to touch your lens whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot. If you're putting a filter on at the end of your stack, you're moving your lens. You cannot move it at all. So it's very hard to fix that. If you're taking a focus stack and you're putting a lens on at the last minute, chances are you've moved your lens. You go to stack them in Photoshop and your stack is off and it's ruined. Unless you can stand there and actually correct it. It takes a long time. So no, put your filter on there and then do it. Don't put it on after.
Okay. Question from Orlando on YouTube. For sunrise and sunset, do you recommend reverse graduated 2-stop or hard edge reverse graduated 3-stop to 2.5 to 5-stop? Okay, so for the reverse graduate filter, I think we have 3 and 4-stop. So you can get either one of them, reverse 3 or reverse 4-stop. So they are both good for the sunrise and sunset. I don't think we have 2 or 5-stop. I think we just have the 3 or 4.
Yeah, I've never seen the 2-stop.
Yeah.
I use a 3-stop all the time.
I think it's good enough to get a 3 or 4-stop reverse grad. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So does NiSi plan to make a magnetic circular polarizer? Not that I know.
Magnetic what?
Magnetic CPL. Not that I know. Another question of the thread system is very hard to grip and get stuck on my V6. So the problem is that when
can you repeat that again?
Yeah, I think these chives means that the holder gets stuck on something on the lens or on the protector. So when you use the V6 filters holder, you better to remove the protector or UV filters before you attach the holder on it. Otherwise, they will get stuck together. You can't remove them. Yeah.
When I tell my clients we're going out in the field and I'm like, we have a meetup and I'm showing them how to use a filter, the first thing I do is say, do you have a UV filter on there? Take it off.
Yep.
I've actually, the last time we tried to screw it on, it got stuck. You want to put your adapter rings right on your lens and not on your UV filter. That's something I noticed with the system. You don't want it to be getting stuck and then you're, accidentally maybe even breaking something because you can't get it off.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Any more question? Anything you want to say? Jennifer, you have anything to ask? You have anything to add?
No. Does anybody have any more questions that they want to unmute their mic? I mean, it's been amazing. I mean, you guys have asked incredible questions. Does Kevin have a question?
With the 2nd generation starter kit, what filters come with that?
You've got the regular kit comes with the 10-stop and the graduated 3-stop. And I always tell people to purchase the 6-stop with it.
Okay.
Mhm. If you're interested, let me
I
know.
know.
Come on, we've got special discount code for you also.
I haven't forgotten about the helicopter ride. Remember that was 4 years ago. I haven't forgotten about that.
All right, we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions? Kevin.
Okay, any more question?
Just
Okay.
one thing. I just wanted to thank all of you for, coming to my seminar. I hope you've enjoyed this discussion. It's been a real pleasure and honor to be giving this to you guys today. And a lot of you guys know me. If you have any questions regarding anything I've spoken about today, just message me and I'll get back to you or send me an email. You have my information. Got my email. He's laughing. Kevin and I go way back.
If somebody wants to meet the cat.
Oh, it's my cat. The cat's staring at me. No, you cannot. You know what? She always wants to be the center of attention. So
there you go.
There she is. I call her my zoo mascot. But she's just gonna sit right here now. Say hello.
Okay, so once again, thank you everyone who attended the seminar today. I'll see you guys next month. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you for a wonderful presentation, wonderful image. I will see you all next month. Thank you.
Good
Bye-bye.
night, guys.
Have a good night.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody. Thank you, Jennifer. Bye.